Radio. This program brought to you by Heavenly Cakes ADK. Wedding cakes made for your special day with a heavenly touch. Get in contact with Heavenly Cakes at www.heavenlycakesadk.com. And now, a presentation by the storytellers of the Sable River Valley on My Life and Tales on Whispering Adirondacks Radio.
Welcome. Welcome. I'm delighted that you're all here today. This is very special to us. Our group is called the Storytellers, and we have researched stories specifically from our local storytellers, and we're about to share them with you. You might find some fault with our stories in one way or another, but here we go. Stories are always from the eye of the beholder. Here's the eye of the beholder. When the earth has been ravaged and the animals are dying, a tribe of people from all races, creeds, and colors will put their faith in deeds, not words, to make the land green again. They will be called warriors of the rainbow, protectors of the environment. We are not clueless storytellers. We are here to help you, help us save the world. We are serious about what our journey will be. My name is Monica McGoy, and I produced this series of storytelling events so that we could, as a community, tell about our lives here historically. The first stories that I would like to tell you about are very local. Some of you will be able to correct me because you know more than I do, but I'm going to start with the story of the Graves Mansion. I met a woman on the Wilmington beach. Boy, was she interesting. She said, "I heard you're a storyteller." I said, "I'd like to be. What's yours?" Because every time I meet somebody interesting, I say, "Tell me a story." And they do. Here was the Graves Mansion story. This woman was apparently a cousin of Tony and Nancy Cross, who own the Graves Mansion currently. Her cousin called her and said, "Come on over to the mansion, we'll clean." Her husband, her two boys, she went to the mansion to clean the rooms and take a look at this unbelievable place. The boys disappeared immediately. She and her husband helped Tony and Nancy for about an hour, and she noticed the boys were missing. She called their names. She got no answer. She started feeling a little frantic after 15 minutes of still calling in this big mansion her two boys' names and no response. Now she becomes very frantic and leaves the building because she's getting no response inside. She sees there's a small outbuilding beyond the big one, and she opens the door, goes in, and sees a door in the floor. Without hesitation, she opens the door in the floor, sees there's a ladder going down in what appear to be tunnels. She's a crazy woman by now. She goes down those stairs real quickly and she shouts her boys' names frantically. She hears faintly from somewhere in the tunnel a response and realizes they're lost in the tunnels. She keeps calling and they come to her. Her first thought was that they were slave tunnels. Okay. Not to be true, but a thought. I immediately went to Arch. That's our architectural heritage site, and I looked up the Graves Mansion and found out 1865. Well, that's no good because the Civil War ended in 1865. So these were not slave times. Then I head up to the golf course, Sable Valley Golf Course. And this wonderful woman up there says, my mother knew. She was a town historian for more than 30 years. Her name was Mrs. Wallace. And she tells me Mrs. Wallace's story. Apparently, big places like that were very wealthy could afford the kind of water power that came from the Sable River. And what it did was make enough power to send a heating system through tunnels all the way to the Graves Mansion. Wow. My next story is called Growing Rye. I don't think we understand how strong agriculture is in this area until we understand the growing of rye. North of Albany and Syracuse, this land was covered in rye for one reason: rye whiskey. We made the best rye whiskey north of Albany, New York. I read that. These are the facts. Prohibition came. We tripled our production. So I think the rye story is coming back to us now. We have distilleries. Did you know we have a cooper in Wilmington, a barrel maker? You gotta have New York State barrels in order to put New York State whiskey in it. They have to be made in New York State. So we're back to making what we do best and putting it in our own barrels. So much for rye. Here's an unknown that I thought was utterly delightful. I'm not done researching it yet. But Lydia Martin Smith, Paul Smith's wife, apparently was born in Sable Forks. I'm stunned. Nobody tells me these things. This woman was an international entrepreneur. She ran a hotel that presidents, international people, P.T. Barnum, the circus guy, stayed at the Paul Smith's Hotel.
That's right.
More than that, I don't know if you know that there was a hotel in Plattsburgh called the Foucault. It was a French-named hotel. Paul Smith and Lydia Smith owned that. They wintered there. They went to Plattsburgh to winter. How pitiful is that? Not that they didn't make it south to Florida and places like that, but Plattsburgh, railroad depot, you could order supplies and get them up to Paul Smith's. Wintering at Paul Smith's certainly would not be the pleasure that a place such as Plattsburgh would offer the amenities. Lydia Martin Smith is one of our unknown wonders. Women need to understand that we have a long, interesting history and that we're going to continue to tell it. Local that it may be, these are the powerhouse women that have informed us, educated us, and inspired us. Linda Emerson Doobie. I went to Asgard Farm for Kidding Day in the spring. Then I started asking around, who grew up on this farm, on this Rockwell and Sally? Just amazing that Sally and Rockwell Kent had this incredible farm outside Sable Forks, and that it's still there today. And it's an honor to have these historic places next to our town. So when I contacted her, and by the way, she's not here today. I don't know if you heard, but they had a terrible fire, and she lost her Nubian goat. She's still grieving. If there's anything you can do, a phone call would be a big help. This is local history. But here's what she told me. As she was growing up on this farm in a political environment that went along with Sally and Rockwell Kent's political beliefs, they wanted to donate money to the children and women of Vietnam in the 60s. The town people threatened to burn down the farm. Wow. I asked Linda, how was that? You were in school. Did people harass you? No, she said. We lived on the farm. I went from the school bus to the farm to the school bus. My life was on the farm. I said, well, what about burn down the farm? She said, well, we were on alert. Strangers. Stranger danger. That's all I can tell you. I will find out more. Our local stories are rich with our heritage and our politics. Every village needs to know who was in the KKK and where did they meet. In Wilmington, it was the Range Hall. Raise your hand if your family was a member. My grandfather, who was an Iroquois runner, said he was going after the Rocky Mountain piece of gold that was being offered. The Rocky Mountain Marathon was my grandfather. Oh my God, I'm going to go out and win a piece of gold.
No gold.
North Country people do a lot for money, for cash, for gold. Off he goes and he wins. He wins. He's got this piece of gold. He's got to make it home with it. He goes through Chicago. He needs a job. Meat packing's good, right? Chicago? He signs his paper not knowing. He just joined the KKK. My last story, before my ladies perform for you, is about a very special lady that lived along Route 9N. Her name was Lillian Smith Southman. I interviewed a lot of people. I do oral history. I asked for you to tell me everything about you. But it took me 3 years of asking, where were you born? Before Bonnie Lawrence said to me, up at Mrs. Southmaid's along with everybody else. Where might that be? The stone house on 9N, she says. Everybody was born there. And after she stopped nursing in the sense of midwife, it became a nursing home for elderly people, the second floor. So here we are with our history right on 9N. And we drive by it every day, and we don't know the richness of our own provenance. Now I'd like to introduce you to the real storytellers. These are the best that I have.
May I tell you something? My daughter went to Paul Smith, and they wanted to know how she learned about Paul Smith. She was up here for the Olympics, and she was asking questions. And we come from New York City, and when we come up, they said, how did you hear about Paul Smith? She loved it there.
How did she learn?
She learned forestry. And I knew all what you were talking about.
These are our forever wild
And
children,
she's out in Colorado.
And I would like to introduce some wild women from the Adirondacks. The first one is Tara Mulvey. Tara came to me. I was volunteering in children's theater, and I am so impressed with the developmental aspect of this woman's work. She is a local piece of walking, living history. I would like to introduce Tara Mulvey, who will perform for you as Polly Sanford, the founding mother of Wilmington, New York. Polly.
My name is Polly. Locally, people are known by whether they come here or if they're from here. I am one of those who come here a long time ago. My man and I came back east to these mountains from Ohio. We left family there. Lewis on my side, Sanford on his. My man's name was Reuben Sanford, and a more determined man never existed. I jumped over the broom with Reuben, and off we came to Essex County. Way back, the area we headed for was a place called Dansville. No dam, just a few Indian families in the area. And plenty of trees and water and land to make our own, and we did. Reuben felled a forest of trees to build shelter for our family and workers and travelers. Roads were demarcated, so without oxen, we would be unable to get from one place to another. And simple necessity governed our every move. While Reuben hewed and forged and plowed and muscled his way through the woods, I lost my only son in childbirth. I raised 7 girls, managed an inn, and supported all my dear husband's business ventures. As I said before, Reuben was a determined man to build a real town, and water power was such a boon, it determined where all the Sanford mills were built along the Sable River. We needed to make tools, so a foundry and forge were built, and men and sometimes families came to the area to work in these businesses set up by Reuben. Our home, an inn, another of our businesses, housed our family and travelers. The girls all shared in rough chores. They emptied spittoons and chamber pots, and laundry was an ever-exhaustion. And daily cooking, everything we harvested from woods and gardens. We had our own produce to serve and put up. And winter root cellars were every family's best effort to prevent starvation and illness in the long winters. Bartering among all families was necessary. Some folks kept enough milking cows to barter butter for eggs from someone else who kept chickens. And the woods were full of good eating: venison, duck, rabbit, bear, and berries. My girls picked raspberries, blackberries, and blueberries for fresh serving at the inn and for our family. Our food was fresh and plentiful, and getting it from the woods, the hoof, or river to table required everyone's work. It was no secret in this wilderness place that the men were wild also. All of the area was planted in rye. And Reuben owned 2 distilleries, supplying the area all the way to Plattsburgh gave us much needed cash. And as a new country, we still struggle with the British between 1812 and 1814 in our area. And of course, rye whiskey goes down well, with or without war. The Sanford family made a good penny from whiskey and did not favor temperance. Without my daughters, the work at the inn and the properties would have done me in. The women in the area, all the families, shared in women's work as the men did. Births were all at home, with whichever neighbor was closest, and deaths the same. Women prepared the body. Cemeteries were given the children who couldn't make it through the long winter with the bad cough, and typhoid took its toll. Women were the doctors while we were damsel. Becoming Wilmington took a heap of work and time. The Sanfords were sure riding high on the hog through the war and into the 1820s, when we became that main town of Wilmington. Schools took priority over churches, so the 4 congregates, 4 of which were the Partridge family members, met at the school, and the rest of us did not observe. Getting together was more about the common work needed, and it took all our strength. All our men were armed and drinkers. You could expect them to take justice for themselves, and they did. People are the same everywhere, and so are their weaknesses. Stealing never goes out of style. And we women had no one to turn to for justice. We were not citizens. We were left uneducated. But I taught all my girls their reading and their writing and their numbers. But if we married badly, we could be beaten with a stick as thick as our thumb, the rule of thumb. And we're obliged to give all money earned to our husbands. including anything left to us from our own people. But Reuben, he was a tender soul. None of the women suffered under his leadership. And when I lost my baby boy, he knew my pain. When he traveled afar, he made every effort to return to us, one day traveling over 90 miles to conduct business. When the war came to the mountains, Reuben helped muster the men to go to Plattsburgh. He took pride in them as hardier and fitter than the recruits from large towns. Country pride showing through. The war changed him. He had always been a leader, but this gave a different aspect to our lives. Reuben now became Major Sanford, and our New York State public life began its course. Reuben traveled to Albany as a delegate to the New York State's Constitutional Convention. He became a leader of whatever the town needed, the supervisor, the postmaster, and more. Reuben still had a dream of finishing what he started, making a town. And it was during that time that he built 2 churches. The one standing in the center of Wilmington, the brick church standing there, was built by Reuben at his expense, at our expense. And it was a gift, a fitting building to grace the town. We had reached our peak in Wilmington. There's going up the mountain, and there's coming down. When Sanford's came down, when fire at the forge and mill ate 50,000 bushels of grain and 15 bushels of coal, Reuben's health was poorly. He came down one time with fever so bad the doctors bled him freely. These mighty mountains require hardy people, and we were running out of strength. Our letters to both our families in Ohio were frequent as we needed to feel connected to them. Our girls were named after much-loved family members from another home and place. More and more we failed to meet mortgages and obligations, and our holdings were sold at auction, and our time was passed here in these mountains. It was past. You folks see my husband as a founding father, and I ask you, is there no such thing as founding mother? Where do you note the contributions of women? I'm not from here. I come here. I have children buried in your cemetery. Why do you not recognize me?
And it's heartbreaking not to recognize founding mothers. Now we're going to go to the viewpoint of a child. Colleen Mulvey has been with me in this project in ways that I'll be grateful the rest of my life. But today, she performs as Esther Combs. Esther Mountain in the Adirondacks is named for her. I would have you consider why there is only one mountain in the Adirondacks named for a female, a child, other than Inez Milholland. That'd be 2. Colleen as Esther.
Around 1855, my family lived at the base of Whiteface Mountain. There weren't many roads in the area. We all hunted regularly for what the land could provide. I wasn't hunting with a gun like the men. But my mother considered me to be one of the family's best foragers of blackberries and medicinal herbs. I always had a pail and my special cup for drinking from the icy streams. At 15 years old, I was trusted and expected to wander far in my search. I have always been a curious and determined person. On the day that made me famous for being lost, I was merely being curious. I wanted to climb to the top of Whiteface Mountain. I was determined to make it to the top, fill my dairy pail, and get home by dinner time. As expected. I followed a small stream going higher and higher in the hot sun. I already had filled the pail, where the berries grow best at the base of the mountain. The bears were all about getting ready for a long, cold winter. So was I. I knew how to handle myself in the woods. I didn't bother them, and they didn't bother me.
So you told.
Icy stream water filled my cup for the bushwhacking at the top. I was so excited, the scratches and effort seemed worth it. Short, twisted trees called flags got in my way. I climbed through brush, clinging to rocks and ledges, finally pushing my way to the top. The wind cooled my sweat. I could listen to my own raspy breath from the climb. I made it! I looked for the sun to get my direction to the west, looked out, and oh my! The top was not the top of the tallest mountain. To the west was a ridge, higher than the one I was standing upon. Whiteface Mountain was, to the west, mocking my effort to climb to the top of the highest mountain. That sun that helped me rotate myself was sinking. Too soon for me to make it home. I knew that immediately. I had food and water, and set about making it to the tree line before it became too dark to make my way at all. The top of the mountains had high winds, and the temperature drops at night, so downstream I headed, certain the family would be worried and come for me. The roots and boulders hid me and comforted me through the night. Daylight came, and I followed the same stream down as I came by, moving down the mountain. Fairly soon I heard my family calling, "Esther, where are you, girl?" My mother's own desperate cry made me think how much everyone worried through the night. Breakfast that day was a celebration. Great slabs of bacon, fried eggs, potatoes, dozens of them for all the hungry searchers. The berries I had picked were as welcome as could be. So, judge for yourself. I was 15 years old and had grown up here in Lunchin. The local people told the story this way. She wasn't lost. She was merely where she should have been without knowing where that was.
That's true.
Everyone took great pride in my adventures. The mountain began to be referred to as Esther Mountain. It took hold. As for my family name, it was mistaken. The plaque that rests at the summit is an error, but it is the only mountain named for a girl. Why is that? Girls love the joy of climbing and running. Freedom will always be in my heart. That is what it means to come from here, from Wilmington, New York. Thank you.
I'm always amazed at women's stories, and I will continue to be amazed. Our next performer has a special background that I need to tell you about. She performs a woman out of Adams, New York, a writer. This writer, her name was Marietta Holley. I'm here to tell you that Marietta Holley sold for 10 years more than Mark Twain, and you don't know this woman's name. She wrote a series, 10 years worth of series, about a character called Samantha, who was married to Josiah Allen. The humorist and this woman, writer, was equal to Mark Twain. Listen to our performer's words. Jennifer Cantwell came to me and she embraced this woman's humor. Allow her to tell Samantha's story.
Well, I just got back from the Methodist meeting house. Whew. Now I must get my house ready for company, since it's the holidays, you know. Well, all us Jonesville women, we've been working really hard on that Methodist meeting house. If we's gonna have a fair in that there meeting house, we just cannot have it look at such a place as to be a disgrace in the eyes of Episcopals and Baptists. Oh no. That meeting house had got to be scraped, and we women had got to do the scraping. It was a hard job too. I couldn't help thinking quite a number of thoughts as I stood on the barrel with the board across it, afraid of death is falling and working for dear life, and the other female sisters on similar barrels, all standing round on them and all afraid of falling, and we all unknowing what we had got ahead on us getting up to the fair. We had to scrape those ceilings and get them ready. Well, my partner, good old Josiah Allen, he could not stay to help. Oh no. After leaving me to the meeting house, he would go on his way to the post office and get his daily world paper, and then he would stop back on his way to give us female women all the latest news from the Methodist conference and give us his ideas on it. And sometimes he would fairly harrow us to the very bone with his dreadful imaginings and fears that women would be allowed to overdo herself and ruin her health and strain her mind by being allowed to sit on the conference. Why, my poor friend Submit Tewksbury, a very timid soul as the name Submit suggests, some of her friends and she would look fairly wild-eyed after Josiah had left. And good land, we worked so hard that we hadn't time to tackle very curious and peculiar thoughts. Not of our own accord, we didn't. It does seem to me there ain't a question coming up before that conference that's harder to tackle than this plastering we've been doing all day, and the conundrum that is up before us Jonesville women to raise $300 out of nothing, and to make peace in a meeting house that has anarchy raining down upon it. But I only thought these thoughts to myself, for I knew every woman there was peaceable and law-abiding, and there wasn't one of them that would rather fall off in her barrel than go against the meeting house. Yes, I tried to curb down my rebellious thoughts, and pretty much did, pretty near all the time. Yet, every single night when I would go home, Josiah would sit with that World newspaper and other papers in his hand, perusing of them, while I was washing up my dishes. And he would tackle me on the danger of alluring women to venture out of their sphere on Methodist house meeting matters, and much less especially sitting on the conference. He stood upon the same old ground men have always stood upon, the ground of man's great strength and capability, and women's utter weakness and helplessness. and incapacity. Josiah enlarged almost wildly upon the subject of how high, how inaccessibly lofty the conference was, and the utter impossibility of a weak, fragile woman sitting upon it, much less getting on the rostrum. Old Josiah would begin to get on me as I filled up my tea kettle, and he kept up a steady drizzle of arguments till bedtime. And as I say, as he left off, my nightmares would begin. Truly, if I couldn't sit on that conference sat upon me from morning till night, and night till morning. The second night of my arduous labors on the meeting house, he began wild and eloquent about women being on conferences and mountain rostrums, and says he, that's something we Methodist men can't stand. And I, having stood up on a barrel all day, scraping the ceiling, and not being recuperated yet from the scaredness and dizziness of my day's work, I says to him, Josiah, are those rostrums much higher than those barrels we've been standing on all day? Well, resuming on, my dear Josiah, him being the meeting house vice president and all, he ventured to pick up what he called his steeled pen, and he started writing on what he says, this loathsome doctrine of women's rights. Well, I come across some of those papers the other day. And, oh yeah, here they are. And he wrote things like, females infringing, and women's love for particulars and extravagances, and danger from women's exaggeration. But he did write a few things that I said. And I found him. Perhaps he doesn't know that I found him. And this is one of the extravagances. Particulars, mind you. And this is what I said. How many $1 billion a year is spent mostly on men in the ruinous extravagance of strong drink? And how many billions more in paying for the effects on it? Loss of labor, jails, prison, hospitals, police force, pauper burials, etc., etc. And I might string out them etceteras, Josiah, clear from here to Grout Hazelton's, and then not even begin to get in the perfectly useless and ruinous extravagance of the liquor business. And I guess that take all the women's extravagance, it will count up so small in comparison as to be lost sight of. And unlike the liquor business, if a woman dresses extravagantly, which no doubt she often does, the dressmakers and merchants and jewelers reaps a profit. If she gives extravagant parties, the grocer, the florist, the laboring class gets some benefit from it. It is not a danger to human life, like the heartbreaking, soul-destroying extravagance and danger to the whole community of the liquor traffic. Us female women consider these particulars to be of utmost importance to help in the good men of our country make the laws to try to make the world a safer and better place for their children, a better, cleaner place for everyone. If it was such a dangerous thing, why have men granted suffrage to women after it's been tried for 20 years or more in a neighboring state, right in their own dooryard, as you might say? Would they venture if they hadn't found that it was a good thing? By and by, that Josiah, he got real silent, and he scratched his head for a full minute or so. I believe he was trying to dig out a favorable idea. But no, he said, it itched. And furthermore, it seems as though it was men who started this whole women question in the first place. And I suppose if women hadn't been so wore out and hampered by our hard work of taking care of men, cooking and cleaning for them, bringing up their children, and working on their meeting house, etc., they might have a jury of women set upon them to figure out if they had any souls. But I don't suppose they had a moment's time to spare from their arduous labor no more than I have. And I don't suppose it'd make any difference either way. The main thing is whether men and women use their souls for the good of mankind and for helping others live better lives. Which brings me right back to working on our beloved Methodist meeting house that I care for enough and that all the women of Jonesville toil for and raise money for. And so I ask again, are them Methodist rostrums much higher than these barrels we've been standing on all day?
The status of women was equal to that of the status of a slave in the South. Women had no more rights than any slave from the Carolinas. The economics of living in the North Country are about to be brought to you by our next storyteller. I'm really proud that Barbara Hoffrichter has decided to talk to you about being Emma Johnson. Emma, she's going to tell you the story of being the mother of 17 children blueberrying in Altona, New York.
Greetings. Barry picking, I mean. The other kind was kind of busy too. Methodist Church might know that. But berry picking was a huge industry in North Country. See, my name is Emma Johnson, and my 17 children and I, we camped from probably late June, when the weather warmed up, till early September at the Altona Flat Rock. Only had the bare essentials there. Shelter from insects and weather, place to eat, sleep. Camp life was pretty darn hard because after long hours of picking berries, there were plenty of household chores to do too. There was a storm, we had to stay inside, and of course I did the cooking and washing and baking on the stormy days. Other times I'd be washing and hanging out clothes way up to midnight. We had an outhouse. We made our own bunks to sleep on, and with so many children, we had to layer them, you know. We used green ferns for a base, and then for blankets, slept all summer that way. Of course, when you're tired, you sleep anywhere. My children were pretty aware of the dangers of living out in the open. I mean, Flat Rock was a favorite place of black bears. They were our competition for berries, you know. If we lagged, bears would get them first. Also, there were spotted adders, and of course the worst were skeeters and the flies. There were fire spotters up in towers, and they alerted pickers during dry season if there was outbreak anywhere in the huge region of different camps and such. People who were close by tent neighbors, well, I had to tell my children to watch out for some of them. You know, that heavy drinking and fights every once in a while. But we like to dance and play games a regular week during the week, and thank goodness for the wardens who kept the peace, because everybody knew being kicked out of camp was going to make a lean winter that year. One late June, I birthed a child, and by 9th of July, I was out picking again. And we had breakfast by lamplight every night, every morning. And then off to the picking spots, kind of a fur away. And then breakfast, and then we had to return, come back for lunch, about 10 a.m. in the morning. Boxing the quarts of berries, and it had to be very careful so that they could go and be delivered undamaged. Lunch was happening at that time, and then had the youngins out and eating. Then back to camp again and sorting and packaging again, and sometimes going out until dark, 15, 18 hours a day. By the end of summer, sometimes I was so skinny I could hardly stand. But having enough cash for the lard and flour, sugar for the winter, that was worth it for all of us. So, most likely, some of our children might go on and leave these mountains, but those that are here, stubborn, hardy, and maybe you know somebody like that. It's been my pleasure to tell you my family story, Mrs. Johnson.
I really appreciate you being an appreciative audience. These people are going to sit and have lunch with you. You are living history. Please talk to them about your stories. Be willing to give us your name and your phone number. We'd like to tell your story somewhere else. The storytellers say, "Welcome to our world. It's a point of view of a woman. And our goals are simple. We're going to save the world. Equal rights, reproductive freedom, global peace. Who's not for that?" Thank you.
I come from New York City, and they did not have bars down in New York City. So the people used to make their own beer.
Yeah. Aren't we still doing that?
No, but at that time, no, now, but then we had no bars. There was a lot of things that you didn't have. And we used to go up where the train tracks were, where they used to pack the trucks and the trains to take things. We had hills and dales there. We used to go up and play cowboys and Indians up there.
Good time.
And there's many things that I can't remember, but what we did in New York City, they never did up here. I know it.
Differences.
Yes. And I come up in 19...
in your city house.
I come up to Lunchin in 1960, rented a cottage, and then we went back camping, and then we got property by the mountain.
These stories of coming here and being out here, here's big difference.
Oh yes, and I find a lot of things different when I first come up.
I believe
You
it.
walk to the stores, you walked all the way around to the beach, and there wasn't that many people at the beach then.
You need to keep it crowded now.
I wouldn't know, I can't even go in the water no more.
Excellent. Very nice.
I enjoy those.
Oh, we can't wait to be telling you stories too. This will be fun.
We had a refrigerator, the water used to run all over.
Yeah.
This program brought to you by Heavenly Cakes ADK. Wedding cakes made for your special day with a heavenly touch. Get in contact with Heavenly Cakes at www.heavenlycakesadk.com.
go.